Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be talking about how I scored 195 marks in MDCAT 2019 as an A-level student, and hopefully give some guidance to those who are struggling. So first of all, I'm going to share a picture of my score so that you people believe me for the rest of this video. Alright, so I had about 2.5 months to study for MDCAT, and I think that's enough if you study every day and you focus on at least two subjects a day. So, first of all, I want to say stop studying from actual FSC textbooks. And yes, I'm talking about those Punjab board textbooks. They're way too lengthy and there's a lot of useless stuff in it. No offense. And instead, you should buy the Scholar series or the College series guidebooks, I guess that's what you call them. Because that's what I studied from, and they're much more concise and so much easier to understand than the actual textbooks. So that's where I studied from. And besides those books, you also need practice MCQ books, which you can get from any academy because since academies are closed, um, you might want to ask a relative who was previously given MDCAT, or you could search online for topical MCQ books. I had MCQ books from KIPS, so that's what I used to practice some questions. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is download the MDCAT syllabus from the UHS website, and please just focus on what's in the syllabus and don't try to do anything extra because if you've joined an academy, then they're probably making you do a lot of extra stuff. I don't know, but that might be the case. So just focus on what's actually in the syllabus. All right, so the major question is, how are we actually supposed to study? Well, it's different for everybody, but I'm going to describe what I did. So, I would first open up the chapter I want to study. For example, genetics from biology. And then I would go through the syllabus and check like what topics from that chapter are actually in the syllabus, right? And then I would like mark them, and then I would actually begin reading the chapter and underlining important stuff. And then I would do some MCQs to retain what I learned. That's important. So I used to study two subjects a day. For example, if we begin with Monday, I would study two chapters, one of biology, one of chemistry, and I'd also try to do their MCQs from the KIPS practice books. But if I was too tired and I didn't want to do MCQs for chemistry, for example, then I'd leave them for the next day. But the thing is, you have to do it. There is no skipping anything, and you have to do everything. And then Tuesday would be like I'd begin with physics in the morning, and then biology at night again. And then Wednesday would begin with chemistry, and then physics at night again. So you probably get what I mean. You gotta take all the science subjects along and you gotta alternate between them. You gotta read their chapters and you also have to do MCQs because without doing MCQs, you're not gonna have an idea of what kind of questions come in the test. And also, if I had some time left at the end of each day, I'd write down some vocabulary words and their synonyms. Um, yeah, for English, you should also check the syllabus for both grammar and vocabulary. I practiced grammar using Kip's book, both the prep and MCQ book. For vocabulary, I'd really recommend that you write down your own synonyms because the vocabulary last year changed drastically and there's only like 200 and something words. And if you search the synonyms and write them down yourself, it's really going to help you memorize them. So, yeah, just do it yourself. Write down like how many ever synonyms you can find which you think you'd be able to memorize easily. So, one of the most lengthy and dreadful topics in biology is the kingdoms one. There's four kingdoms, and among them, the animals, the fungi, the protists, These ones are really important and you do have to do them properly. You've got to know their main features um, and you have to know like what kind of MCQs come from those chapters. And you can get an idea of that by going through MCQ books, for example, the KIPS book. And once you go through the MCQs, you'll know how you have to study and how you have to memorize those things. So that leaves us with the remaining kingdom, which is the plants one. It's really long, dreadful, and I just skimmed through it. I mean, it's way too much, and if you do have time, then you should go through it. Well, you do have to go through it, just to get an idea of what's in it. So for revision, I went through all the chapters in chemistry and physics, and I made short notes on them because in chemistry and physics, there's a lot you need to remember, like formulas and values and structures and chemical reactions. So it'd be really good if you could write them down yourself to remember them. And for biology, I didn't make any notes because Scholar Series is really written simply and you can understand it easily. And I also went through the KIPS book for revision. And yeah, and for the kingdoms, you should make your short notes because there's a lot of features that you need to memorize and you can get confused between them. So for kingdoms, you should make your short notes and memorize from there. So one thing I remember from last year's MDCAT, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that no MCQ came from the Kingdoms chapter. That is what I remember. So, but remember, that doesn't mean they aren't important. The point is, focus on the other chapters in biology first and leave these chapters for the end because they're simply memorizing. Finally, the last thing I want to emphasize on is to remain calm on the test day. And I can't stress on this enough because, all right, I'm going to give you an example. There was a question in chemistry that came last year, and it was something like CFCs are used for something, 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 and what does CFC stand for? And there were four options. Obviously, the correct one was chlorofluorocarbons, but there were other three options which were like confusing words. So if you're somebody who panics easily, who doesn't know how to remain calm, then you're going to end up circling the wrong answer, even for that simple question. So it's important to remain calm and actually read the question because this test is actually easy. Okay, it's easy, trust me. And you just need to remain calm and be able to read the question properly and understand it. And honestly, I believe if you can master your emotions during that time, you've mastered 50% of the test, considering you also prepared well for it. So, yeah, being able to control your emotions is really important. Trust me. All right, so that's it. And if you do have any questions, you can ask me. By the way, this is just a short description of how I got 195 marks. And getting marks like that, I could never have imagined that could happen. Like I I honestly thought I would get close to 180. So if you don't get 195 marks, please don't come attacking me because getting marks like that, um, it doesn't just depend on how good you studied for the test. Seriously, it depends on a lot of things such as your fate, your luck, um, your emotions during that time, and everything. So you've got to work on all of those things.